It's lively at the morgue tonight. Doc Robbins has the body of a homeless man, which unfortunately is a routine occurrence. But this Vic has some interesting anomalies. Brass can get you the address of where the body was found. But first start with our best evidence, the body itself.
Hey, I'm Warwick Brown. We can use another good CSI. Catherine says you don't miss much. How about this time you don't miss anything? So let's go see the doc and find out what put this homeless corpse on the coroner's radar.
You can customize all difficulty options here. Selecting gameplay aids will make the game easier. To quit the game, click Main menu.
Warwick and the newbie, welcome to the morgue. Very helpful destination, unless it's your last. And I hope you aren't squeamish, because the body of evidence on any murder case starts with the body as evidence. I'm Dr. Albert Robbins, but we're going to be friends, so Doc or Al is fine. I'm here to answer your questions, uncover little pieces of truth that will add up to a bigger truth. How our Vic died, what the murder weapon was, possibly the deceased's identity. I deal with the kind of trace evidence that doesn't make itself obvious at the crime scene.
So what's the story here, Doc? Grissom said you found something that didn't quite add up on a homeless guy.
First glance, we've got a male, mid-30s, apparent alcohol poisoning fatality. Of course, we have bleeding out of the mouth consistent with this kind of death, and the expected filthy, ragged, and ill-fitting clothing. Not exactly the top story in the 11 o'clock news, right? But consider the stomach contents, traces of white French truffles, which go around $150 an ounce. Plus, we have a blood alcohol reading of 0.50. High, you say? Too high. The hardest core drinker would typically pass out long before hitting that mark. Well, that's a start. I've prepped a DNA sample for the computer as a matter of procedure. Normally pretty straightforward, but not in this case. The entire body should be rigid from rigor mortis. That's muscle losing its adenosine triphosphate and hardening. But the stiffness was inconsistent, absent in several joints, indicating that the Vic was moved. And without knowing the environmental conditions at the real site of the death, determining time of death becomes quite difficult. Wakeman Vodka. Pretty high-class brand for a homeless guy, don't you think? Sure, but here's another surprise for you. I found indications our fragrant vagrant may have been dressed posthumously. You'll also note that we have an oddly well-groomed corpse beneath the rags. Well-groomed, but you've still got the malnutrition and poorly healed wounds, consistent with the life on the streets. Some post-mortem bruising on the face, too. If you don't tell Grissom, I'll share a guess with you. The nose test says that's your standard issue garden variety vomit. Involuntary contractions cause the stomach to spew its contents up the esophagus. Lots of ways that reflex can be triggered, from a finger down the throat, to flu, to feelings of guilt. He had a heart transplant, probably as an adolescent, so this is not a man who always lived his life on the streets. No evidence of any anti-rejection drugs in his system, though off his meds, he may have been living on borrowed time anyway. Bruises indicate he may have been forcefully held down, not a post-mortem injury. No fatty deposits on the liver, smooth tissue, nutmeg color too. Street person or not, this was no heavy drinker. Impression and tan line on his finger suggests he'd worn a ring for some time, months at least.
Need something? Hey, you're gonna love this. How about a condemned building that was once an insane asylum near the edge of town? Real eyesore. Drives us crazy, all the disturbance reports we get, kids causing trouble out there. I'll secure it for you. Well, Vegas isn't short on gourmet dining, but still, those morsels are rare. I'll run a check on restaurants listing their specials online. Only one hit for the past few days. Le Figaro restaurant, right downtown.
This pad's perfect for nightmares. Musty and damp. Vic's blood. This is where the EMTs picked up the body. It's pretty common to have bleeding from the mouth in an alcohol poisoning. No need to sample it. Yeah, in this town it's better to be lucky than smart, and we just got lucky. A fly must have dropped her eggs on the Vic's blood. We're getting closer to the time of death. Hey, we got some muddy footprints here. Ward Brown's first rule, it all comes down to shoe prints. You catch that pungent smell? Alcohol, maybe? Looks like fresh paint over here. Prints cut off at the break. Barely a partial. Part of a print, but it stops at the edge where the glass is broken. Even when you add up 1 + 1, we still come up a partial. Disruption and the dust could be important. This is kind of out of place, you think? Not as dusty as everything else. The blood, the wheelchair. Our Vic was wheeled over here and dumped. Damn, that's cold. Seatback looks really weathered. Well, this little number rolled a long way. Can't make out this number, but it's etched in the metal. Pretty superficial. Sometimes acid brings out more of the detail, but it might destroy the image altogether. Any ideas? Great idea. Microcell makes a good negative mold. We're with the crime lab and we need to speak with the manager.
I'm the manager and owner, Marcus Vanderhellen. Is there a problem?
There's no problem. We just have some questions. Background on an investigation.
Always a pleasure to be of service to law enforcement. Oh my, numerous people. It's a house specialty. Not always on the menu, you understand. But patrons flock here for it, when it's available. You'll have to be much more specific. Would you mind keeping your voice down, officer? It's a terrible problem that I frankly can't seem to do anything about. I've called you people dozens of times, and while I know you can't be everywhere at once, these tramps, bums, this human refuse, they frequent my alley in the dumpsters like a buffet line. This kind of thing, you understand, makes my patrons most uncomfortable. I'd rid the world of that filthy rabble if I could, much less my alley. These lowlifes are always lurking about back there, and as you might imagine, my relationship with any one of them is limited to chasing them the hell away. I wouldn't know one from the other. Interchangeable riffraff. We have an exclusive clientele, and as much as I would like to be of help, I must protect their privacy. No, I cannot do that.
That's all we need right now. Well, it may be a fine restaurant, but this is one rank alley. It's got to be a better place for a guy down on his luck to find a meal. Truffle special and an asparagus omelet. Truffle special, grilled eggplant pasta. Truffle special with a baked Alaska dessert. Leftovers. Someone hungry enough might find this worth eating. Nothing here. There's nothing special there. Powdery substance. Torn cloth. Someone must have got snagged hopping the fence.
Yes? I amplified and graphed that DNA of yours, scanned it into the computer. Not the most fun I've had today. That was vomit, thank you very much, delicately laced with asparagus and scrambled egg. Asparagus omelet, maybe? Traces of DNA from the lining of the digestive tract, faint but not something Greg Sanders is likely to miss, which I've amplified into full profile. Oh, and sometimes DNA traces like that in food could indicate a stomach ulcer. I scanned the shoe print into the computer. Mostly water, but also alcohol, vodka, distinctive formulation, so we've got a brand, Leroy Banks Premium.
I've seen that stuff. $6 a bottle. Definitely for the budget conscious.
The paint, which I put through a thin layer chromatographic analysis, separating the organic compounds, is consistent with canned spray paint. A few different graffiti crews like to get creative with this stuff. Can't think of much more to tell you about that. Shoe print scanned in the computer. Diphacinone, a highly toxic rodenticide. Rat poison. But somebody sprinkled it on, wasn't mixed in.
You mean someone's out to get homeless people?
Nice, huh? The rat here is the one sprinkling on poison like it's seasoning. Warwick, these are human beings, people in trouble, and some restaurant owner is going to just get rid of them like they're an infestation because they're bad for business?
I hear you. This guy's starting to really rub me the wrong way.
So we know somebody ordered that telltale asparagus omelet, only we don't know who. Garden variety restaurant receipt. Truffles special on it, otherwise not that special. Garden variety restaurant receipt. Truffles special on it, otherwise not that special. I've put that into the image enhancement and microscopy equipment for you. I've done everything I can think of with that. Nothing new to report on that. Microsil mold of an impression. Clever. Ran a few processes, enhanced it further, reversed it, and voila! Serial number SN21003. Denim fabric. Found blood on it. I've thermocycled it and dropped the chromosome map into the computer. Table scraps, but high-end ones. Kind you say you're bringing home to Poochie and then microwave for yourself.
Time of death? 28 hours prior, give or take a few hours. Yesterday, around dinner time. Looks like you got a match. Pretty consistent with the size 11. Though prints from mud can be misleading. It's not a match. Not even similar.
Yeah? What do you need, guys? The graffiti plus those tough tread bruiser prints? Yeah, I know those graffiti punks. Try the bloody core. You should go check their hangout. I'll check. Yeah, here it is. Gotta love the net. Sold at a public sale at a cancer clinic about a year ago. No name, though. You got it. That's a good, solid lead. Make our entrepreneur pal look it up for you.
That's all I have to share right now. Reluctantly, I will honor your warrant and pray that you will remain discreet.
Hey. With the credit card info, you should be able to track the person's identity on the computer. I've set up a search for you.
Got a hit. J.J. Thomas. Address and everything.
Please come in. May I help you?
Who with the crime lab? Would you mind answering a few questions?
Yes, it is. It's the home of J.J. Thomas. And I'm Claire Thomas, his daughter. If you're here to see my father, I'm afraid he passed away recently.
We're sorry for your loss, Miss Thomas.
What's this about, officers?
It's just a routine matter, but we could use your input.
Certainly. Bravely. He'd been fighting a long battle with lung cancer, and that's a war you just can't win. I hope I can help you, but I'm not really at my best at the moment. I was close to my father. I'm an only child, and my mother died when I was 5. Daddy was really all the family I had, and now I'm just sorting through things, putting a lifetime into boxes. I'm a little confused and just barely keeping it together. So, if we could make this short, I'd be grateful.
No problem. We just have a few questions.
Yes, while I settle the estate. This was my father's winter residence. The rainy weather in Seattle was hard on him. Last year, when he got worse, he moved here permanently, and I stayed in Seattle. From time to time. I'm his executor and sole heir, and I'm cleared to put charges on the corporate card. Why, yes, I did. Just the other night, actually. Now, this is embarrassing. Well, I guess you won't be surprised if I say I've been an emotional train wreck since Daddy died, and frankly, I've been lonely as hell. And I met a man at the casino lounge the other day. We had a nice conversation, and it seemed like there was this little spark between us, only, well, let's just say nothing ignited. Kinda came to my senses, and we did share a meal, but not phone numbers. Oh, that's an odd question. I'll have to think. I had an asparagus omelet, which is a favorite of mine. Really, I don't remember exactly what my, friend had. Frankly, he was nice enough, but awfully bland. I understand that you're just doing your job, but I'm afraid as vague as you've been, I can't see cooperating to that extent. Not when I'm under this kind of pressure. Maybe later if you can make the reasons for this intrusion a little more clear.
That's all we need right now.
Miss Thomas, certainly. Lovely young woman. She's the daughter of the late J.J. Thomas. Very distinguished industrialist. ordered her favorite, asparagus omelette. She was dining with a slender man, about 5'10", 5'11", I'd say. Perhaps around 40, 35 years of age. He behaved himself, but he seemed out of place, frankly. Ill at ease. An odd choice for a dining companion for the likes of Miss Thomas.
That's all we need right now.
I was honored to know him personally. He was much more than just a regular patron to me. A generous man, with a warmth that not all wealthy people, if I might be frank, display. JJ even sometimes had me at his condo, where we spoke of the arts and politics and business over martinis into the wee hours. He was a friend. I miss him dearly.
Wow, and I thought Sanders' crib was a mess. Blank. Could be useful anyway. You shouldn't dust for prints here. It's a bad habit, but good evidence.
What's up? Electrostatic imprint lifter shows us what was on the previous page. Handwritten, pawn shop, Ogden and 4th. And we have a match. Same exact paint batch as that stuff swabbed at the Laughing Academy. Tiny traces of mitochondrial DNA. I was able to amplify it enough for a profile, waiting for you in the computer.
Open 24 hours, except when we arrive. Typical. This looks like the paper we analyzed. Same handwriting, same address.
Hey. We've got some mitochondrial DNA from the smoker's mouth. I got a feeling this bud is bad for somebody's health. I've done everything I can think of with that. Yes.
That's the same guy as in the hangout. Probably waiting for the pawn shop to open, which should be around now. A ring. Pretty grimy. This could be a family crest. Well, this one's definitely not fresh off the rack. Whitish brown, and different from human hair.
What are you looking at? Joe Nobody, what's yours?
Warwick Brown, Crime Lab. You willing to answer a few questions?
Not unless you got a good reason to. That's it, that's all I got for you.
What's up? One of the things we look at on human hair is the medullary index, the ratio of the diameter of the medulla to the shaft. But the index on the one you found is quite high, suggesting a different animal. Judging by the scale pattern, I'd guess a cute little kitty. You might be able to determine the species by comparing it under the microscope to known samples. Found a gold ring under the gunk and grime. This crest on it would have made it hard to pawn. Pretty small, size 5. Nothing new to report on that.
Singapura. It's a rare breed. Is that a rich guy's pet?
Forget something? Not that I could find. Fluid was lost from the victim, though. That could attract some blowflies anywhere the body has recently been. Diphacinone? Manufacturers are required by law to incorporate an indicator dye to help identify it in the organs and bloodstream if the pesticide has been ingested. I found no traces of that or the poison itself in the body. However, there are ways to mask traces of poison, and this victim certainly shares many of the same characteristics that you'd find with a poisoning death. Based on my measurements, it looks like a size 5. This guy? Measured him at 5'9" and some change.
I don't have anything else to say. Yes, he did. You do come up with things, officers. She's around here, somewhere.
What's up? Well, that's easy enough to check. Oh yes, several to choose from. 7 through Nevada, but only 1 here in the city. Registered to a J.J. Thomas, Suite 3700, North Meadows Condos. She ate the omelet, and her cat's hair is on the jacket. So let's see if she's hiding anything else.